How's it? And welcome to another episode of Tech Tips Tuesday. I think this will be the fifth one, brought to you from the workshop in the basement. My name's Conrad Davies, and today we're going to have a look at Shimano's E-Tube project app, as well as an app that I used to make some slight setup changes on my bike so that I could make it work the way I want it to work. So the first app that we're going to have a look at is Shimano's E-Tube project. Now, this app has had a major update since I used it earlier this year. I had the Kona Remote 160 and I was using both the Emax app, which we'll talk about in a minute, and the E-Tube app. But the E-Tube app was pretty basic. It didn't have very much to it. That's changed quite a bit. So let's have a look at that app. The first thing that you need to do is just open the app. So you should be seeing it on the side of the screen over here. If you want to see a full rundown on how to connect your bike and all that sort of stuff, I'll link that at the end of the video in the description below, and you'll be able to have a look at how to actually connect to your bike and all those little things. But at the moment, we're just going to have a look at the very basic changes that have happened in the app. Okay, so now you can see the bike is connected. It's telling me I've got this Kona Remote 160, and I can then go in and it gives me a couple of basic things. So I've got the assist characteristics that I can change, which you could before. That wasn't really, that's not something really new. So one of the things that's really changed though is how the update to the firmware and the software seems to have changed how the bike works with the DI. Now on the old bike I had Di2, and on this bike I have Di2, and that's why I'm using the Emax app actually. We'll get to that in a second, but the big change seems to be that the Di2 on the mountain bike seems to work the same Shimano sort of touring setup, electronic touring setup. Big change is that when you shift down, especially if you're in boost mode, you now get sort of a slowed down pedal effect. So you don't get that feeling like the bike wants to keep running forward. After you stop pedaling, it just basically stops as if you were riding a normal bike, and allows you to change down gears without a problem. The main reason though why I wanted to just show you the E-Tube app here, in the update screen, it's telling me that there's an update from 4.8.0 to 4.9.0 in the firmware update for the motor. This is the point that I just wanted to make, is don't do updates if you're going to use third-party apps. Check the third-party app provider's website, email them if need be. Just make sure that you do not do an update to especially your drive unit in this Shimano's case, because that might stop your third-party app from working. I want to make sure that my third-party app is working specifically for the DI, so that's why I'm not going to do the update. So I'm just going to disconnect from the bike now. Bike is now disconnected, and I'm going to go to my other app that I want to use, and that's the Emax app. So there's my Emax app open, and I'm going to connect to the bike by pushing the connect to bike button. It now tells me that it's connected to my SCE 8000 system. You then click on bike info and you go get bike info. In my case, I've got a license key for my app. Don't bother trying to copy my license key off my app over here that you're seeing on the screen, because the license key is actually bound to the motor's serial number. So every bike has an individual license key and serial number. Therefore, this app won't work on your bike. Okay, so you can see there now I've got the bike information that I wanted to get. I can now go back, and here is where I can start to do some changes. So my main change was that I wanted to change to electronic shifting. So you can see that electronic shifting is selected. That was the main thing. So I actually downloaded this app specifically to be able to change to electronic shifting without having to go to a bike shop that has the Shimano setup and get that done in the bike shop. The other things that I can change is I can set up lights and stuff like that. I'm going to go back here. The thing that you can change here, which is one of the things that I've done, is I can change wheel circumference. I'll show you that out on the bike in a minute, but you can see there that I've got wheel circumference set in, and it's set in incorrectly at the moment. So I've got 2,125 millimeters of rollout on my bike. So I'm going to change that to 2,125. That's the exact rollout of my wheels. And I'm going to push done, and I'm going to program parameters to bike, and I'm going to go back. And to explain why I'm doing that, when the bikes ship from the factory, they ship with a motor that's programmed for a guesstimate of around about what the rollout would be. So in my bike's case, the bike was is spec'd with 6 fatty tires, and they told Shimano the spec, but Shimano kind of takes a guess as to which 6 fatty tire and exactly what rollout it's going to have. And they obviously can't set every single bike up to the exact rollout that it has. In my case, I've got a slightly smaller diameter rollout than what the bike came spec'd with, and what that does is it gives you a slightly higher speed than you're actually traveling at on your computer. So when the computer on the bike is telling it that it's riding at 25 kilometers an hour and then hitting the assistant limiter, it's actually not riding at 25 kilometers an hour. In my case, it was riding at about 23.5 kilometers an hour. So to just get that little bit more out of the bike so that I can drive at the max that is allowed in Europe, I have set in the correct wheel diameter, and now I can set up the bike, so I can ride the bike at the correct speed that I want to be able to ride at. So I'm going to go back to main here, and I'm going to disconnect the bike. Then I get this little warning. It tells me that I need to click the OK button when I shut off. I'm going to click OK here, and I'm going to click yes over there. And now the bike is set at the exact correct wheel diameter, and I've set it up for Di2 shifting. So a quick explanation of how to measure wheel circumference or rollout. You mark a point on the floor where your valve is, roll your wheel forward by 1 revolution, and then take a measuring tape and measure the distance between the 2 points. That will give you your wheel rollout or wheel circumference, which you can use with an e-bike or any other bike computer. I hope this helps you set up your e-bike correctly. As I say, the Shimano app itself is pretty good, and it's got a lot of settings in it which we can go into in another video. If you'd like me to go into a full description of what you can do with the E-Tube app, drop a comment below and I'll make a video about that. If you'd like to know more about the E-Max app that I'm using just to change some of the parameters of the bike, again, just drop a comment below and I'll get around to doing a full E-Max tutorial if you'd like. But as I said, the E-Max tutorial that I did before is pretty complete. I'll link that at the end of the video and in the description below. Go check that out, and we'll catch you next time. Ride safe, and cheers.